Today's first video is going to be the knife arm against same side wrist grab. This is one of the first techniques taught in Hapkido to beginners, and quite frankly should be your best technique. It's the first one you learn. You should have been practicing this since day one through whatever your level or period of practice has been. It's often one of the most incorrectly done techniques. It is also a technique that includes all of the theories and principles of Hapkido, from non-resistance to circular motion to utilizing the opponent's energy against them. Yu-One Ha in Korean. Okay? Non-resistance, circular motion, and coordination of energy or utilizing the opponent's power against them, as well as a number of incapacitating or attacking techniques before the actual knife arm is executed against the opponent's arm. The technique also requires body positioning. I will demonstrate how it's done commonly, various variations thereof, which are also incorrect, and we'll show you why it doesn't work and why people think it is ineffective. It's not working. It's not working because they're not doing it right. So I'm going to first demonstrate some of the common incorrect ways of executing this technique, and then I'll explain in detail how to do this correct technique correctly. Same side wrist grab. When you practice, you want to have your opponent grab you tight. Okay? Don't do a half grab and just kind of stand there. They're going to hold you tight. They're going to resist you as if you're being held. And this is not an uncommon method of holding somebody. In DV cases, domestic violence, in attack scenarios, this is a very common method of attack to force somebody to pull them to where they want you to be. It's not an ineffective or inadequate or uncommon method of attack. So when they grab you, most people will stand there, maybe not open their hands, and then hold tight. He's holding tight right now. It's pretty tight. They stop. Try to go like that. I can't raise my arm because I'm trying to use upper muscles in my arm against the full power of his whole body. It's not going to work. Another thing, you see people stepping out and rotating the arm. So they'll step out and realize they're not getting anywhere. Now they're stuck. So that's second variation. Another one is, alright, they step out. Okay, didn't work quite so well because my body's trying to go this way, my arms and hands still stuck here. So all three are some of the common incorrect methods to start this technique, all resulting in you can't get beyond moving your body or your hand to about an inch or so. So what ends up happening is a lot of people will start going, okay, well, alright, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up with a strike, kick, and then I'm going to go like that. Unnecessary and, quite honestly, just foolish. Incorrect execution of the technique doesn't mean you make up stuff to counter or to balance the incorrect execution of the technique. Under different circumstances, if I'm standing in snow, he's got 2 inches of clothes on and a glove, maybe we need to do some setups, to do some additional techniques to work through it, even when it's done correctly. But that's if you're in a different scenario with a different environment, with a huge opponent, with clothing on, with uneven grounding. That calls for modification of techniques, to do certain other things to set up, more follow-through, additional techniques as you execute the technique to counter, to balance the various variables in that scenario. But when you're practicing, you want to practice what I call the classical method. Do it correctly, do it theoretically correct. Then when you're in a situation where you have to improvise, you can improvise very quickly. But if you start out with a technique that you learn, including all these setups and variations thereof, you learn an incorrect technique, and it works well maybe for that situation that you're in, but it won't work in all cases. When done correctly, the technique will work in all cases, you may need to modify it a little bit with some add-ons or some variations, but you can do that when you know how to do it correctly. The first thing to do, grab tight. You hold them tight. Okay? I can't move my arm very well. First thing, live hand, open. Watch my feet. Actually, we're going to step back. Let's step back on the mat a little bit. Watch the right hand. Live hand. Step forward 45 degrees. Keep your arm tensed, live hand open, and I'm stepping forward, and if you can turn around a little bit, you'll see we got a gap here between his grip and my wrist. Okay? That first motion of stepping in 45 degrees, a half step with the live hand open, with the arm tensed, not tight, just tensed, creates this opening. I'm not using very little power in my arm right now. It's all my body positioning that's producing that gap. Once that gap is there, the left hand comes across, grabs a pressure point, and grabs the inside of the wrist. I'm sorry, the hand. Okay? The fingers are placed inside the hand, and the index finger is pointed out. When you rotate this up, you want to rotate it with a minimal amount of motion in terms of plane of motion. You don't want to spread your arms out. You want to keep it in the center line of your body, right here. Grab fingers inside the hand, rotate up, pull to your chest. I'm going to turn around in a second and show you, but I'm hitting a pressure point right now. Okay, he's going to tap out. I've already made my first attack. Second attack, break the thumb. I'm going to rotate this so you can see it. Close up. You can see as he's holding on, his thumb is caught on my wrist. I'm going to break that thumb. Then raise the arm, still hitting that pressure point, just tapping out because I got a pressure point which I'll show you in a second. Then raise the knife arm, push down. And I'm in complete control. Okay? In this position, people often say, well, he's going to get back up and punch you, or I'm going to strike you, grab your knee, grab your foot, or do something. Well, I don't need to be doing very much at all at this point. And I can just take him straight down there. And there's a lot of things we can do after that. But that's the basic technique, is to get him in this position and control the opponent. Before I did the knife arm, I've done four things. One is my ability, your ability to control your body and to make it move where you want it to go. I want to release his grip, and I'm going to release his grip by stepping in 45 degrees with the live hand and releasing that grip, creating that gap. No matter how big he is, you should be able to do this, because you're using the body's power. I'm not using my arm to try to push it out. Okay? I'm not stepping out to where my body's out of position, and I'm trying to pull him where the bulk of my body power is over here. I'm using body power, maximizing that, neutralizing this grip, rotating around. I'll step around this way. As I step in, creating that gap, zoom in. This pressure point, not pull, pressure point. The index finger bone runs up from the knuckle to the wrist. Those two pressure points I'm attacking with first my finger, thumb, tip of my thumb, then the first index of that thumb joint is applied against that index finger. The fingers again need to grab inside of the hand. You can't just cover it. That's what most people do. They'll just cover and come up. Incorrect, because you're missing the attack right here and this attack. And he'll tap out when it hurts. Okay? Because I'm applying pressure to zoom in to this pressure point. So I'm hitting a pressure point. He's tapping out already. Attack number 1's commenced. 2, come around, keeping the arms close to the body. I still have the pressure point working on his index finger. And the reason why I'm able to break the thumb is because we're being realistic. He's holding on to my hand. Okay, we're not practicing this to where he's got a loose grip. I'm going like that and things fall apart. He's not in a position, this is not a realistic position. I'm not in a realistic position. And you can't execute the technique because you're not doing it right to start with. When done correctly, when they're actually holding you, they're not going to let you go. Even though it hurts, they're not going to let you go. They're going to keep holding on to that thing. That's good because as he holds on to it, his thumb's in the perfect position for me to break. Attack number 2. Attack number 3 is the knife arm. And I call this almost a overkill at this point because by this point I have him controlled. This is almost an afterthought at this point of the knife arm. And so when you see this technique done, I'm going to switch sides again. For demonstration purposes, you'll see a lot of people doing this. Come here, break, do this, come around, you throw, a lot of follow-up after that. That's for demonstration. It's a demonstration, meaning we're demonstrating a technique. It's showy, it's flashy, it's exciting to watch. But the core of this technique, the classical technique, step forward, release the grab, pressure point attack, arms held in tight, because the wider you go, the less leverage you're going to have. Break. We're done. His arm, I would have broken his arm or his wrist or one of those combinations, or some of those combinations. We're done with the technique. My opponent's done for the day. We don't need to go through throwing or other continuous techniques, which can be done as a demonstration of your capabilities by showing fluidity and connection of various techniques. But as far as a self-defense quote aspect goes, those follow-up techniques are quite unnecessary when this is done correctly. And again, as I'll show you again, there's no need for, okay, I'm going to set this up with that inside little scoop kick to the shin setup, or a setup, or a setup. There's no setups necessary. When you're doing this right, 1, 2, 3, break. Complete control. My arm is close to my chest, not up here. Don't drop the arm because you won't be able to control the hand, the wrist, the shoulder at this point. And this knife arm becomes very ineffective because I have no leverage. You want this arm up close to your chest, control it right here. He's tapping out because I've got that pressure point. Always grab with your fingers, tight. Every finger, especially the pinky. It's buried right between that wrist joint, between the soft part of his palm and his wrist. You want it lined up right here, that pinky. It's a weak finger, but in Hapkido techniques, this is the key finger, or one of the key fingers. If you don't have this held tight, the rest of your grip goes. Oftentimes people will hold like this. They won't use the pinky or the ring finger, thinking that my 2 fingers, middle finger, index finger, thumb, those are my strong fingers, and that's what I'm going to use. Incorrect. You will not be able to hold somebody with these fingers. The power comes from forcing you to use your pinky and other fingers as your primary grip holders. It will force the other fingers and the hand to be held correctly and tightly, securely. If you don't use the pinky, you're going to lose your grip. Okay? Close to your chest. Control your opponent to maximize the amount of leverage I get. From top, the higher I am, the lower his arm is, the more leverage I'm going to get, the less power I have to expend to execute this technique. So one more time, go through the basic technique. The grab, tense, open the hand, knife arm. Step in, release that grab. Reach over, close to your chest. Pressure point attack. Break the thumb. Raise your leg, push down. Stand Wait for a second. I'll do this without a partner. Grab. First thing to do, you see my hands relaxed. Tense the hand. Lower your center of gravity. Step in, 45 degrees. The arm is taut, not tense, not powered up. It's firm, it's taut. Hands wide open. Reach over. Thumb strikes the pressure point. Fingers inside the hand. Rotate up before you step back. Foot on the ball of your foot. Pull up. Arms close to your body, not held high. And the fingers are inside the opponent's inside of hand, in his palm. They're grabbed. The thumb strikes the opponent's index finger pressure point. I've got him under control at this point. I'm flexing his wrist, hyperextending it, and hitting a pressure point. Because he's still holding on to my wrist, break the thumb. They may release the grip by that point or relax the grip, so this may not be needed. But this is in case the opponent's still holding on, which they very well likely be doing. Break the thumb. Step up and live hand against the upper arm. The place to do it is from the elbow, 3 finger spaces up. It's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. 3 finger spaces from your elbow up. That's the target point of that knife arm. And the knife arm is this outer forearm done with the hand spread wide open. I'm going to do another video later about why we use the live hand versus the fist. But the live hand is applied against that upper arm, and you come down, press down, and you notice the form of it is the exact form I was in when I was doing it with the opponent. You need to practice this so that you can do it by yourself or with an opponent the exact same way. It doesn't matter the size of the opponent, you need to be able to execute this exactly the same way with everybody. Don't fall into those commonly incorrectly done mistakes, such as not stepping in to the correct position, going too far over, stepping out to the side, or not stepping at all and trying to rotate out when the opponent's got the full power of his body bearing down on your wrist. Not going to work. Okay? One more time. Inside, grab, step in, release the grab, pressure point strikes, break, down, end it with a punch. That's all you need to do. And I have complete control of the opponent. That's it.